Good evening, friends, fans, family, and followers, to the newest episode of Last Caw, Life Experiences of a Crow. It's good to be back. I apologize for the delay, which we'll jump into some updates and some things that have been going on lately, fill you guys in with where we are on a lot of different items. So good to be back. Like I said, if you are listening, whether listening live, streaming after the fact, or you've downloaded this to your device for on the go, any which of the three is fine, but please make sure you click the like, share, follow, and subscribe buttons on whatever platform you're tuning in from. Help share it around, keeps you in tune with new episodes as they air, gives you unfiltered access to our past archives of this show, Last Caw, to Tenebrious Caniculum, to Knights of the Nephilim, Celestial Oddities Paranormal Guys podcast, and Uncovering the Underground. All of my shows by clicking the like, share, and follow button on my channels. I would appreciate it. It also helps move us up the podcast community rankings and allows more people to discover it. So that's always a good thing. Like I said, we've been MIA for the last month almost, and it hasn't been by choice necessarily. A lot of things took place over the last several weeks and has taken me away from my normal duties. And I apologize for that, but I am glad to be back here this evening. And we're going to be talking about what do you attract? And I think that's an important segue or important subject to segue into this evening, because I think that a lot of people open themselves to a lot of different types of energy, and then they're wondering why their life is the way that it is. And we can touch base on that this evening. So if you are listening out there and you want to be a part of the show, please feel free to drop a comment on whatever platform you're tuning in from. It will appear here on my dashboard. We'd be more than happy to throw those comments up on the screen, read them off, interact with you. We like our fans and listeners to be a part of the show. This is your show. This is not my show. Last Caw is different than my other shows. This is one where we kick it together on a Thursday evening most weeks, and we discuss some real life topics, unfiltered, unrelenting, unapologetic, and dive into all kinds of needed content. And tonight, like I said, we will be discussing about what you attract to you in your life by your vibratory frequency, and how you might be able to shift and change that to attract better things in your life. So we'll stick around for a couple minutes before we really jump into it. Let a few more people discover it. I was trying to get in at 9 o'clock, and our last couple episodes, we had a couple interviews lined up. One fell through because of some emergency things that happened. The second one fell through because of technical difficulties. Then all this other stuff happened. It took us away for like a month. And then now I want to get on tonight at 9, and my computer, which runs normally flawlessly, would not work. I restarted it like 3 times. It was freezing up. I don't know what the hell happened. And then out of nowhere, poof, worked fine. So that's why I am a half an hour late to starting. And we're going to try to pick up where we would have been. Tammy, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, anybody else tuning in out there, click the like, share, and follow button. And we're going to jump into it in just a moment. I apologize if my voice is raspy tonight, folks. I have had a kind of a scratchy throat for the last couple of days. I did 2 nights of ritual outside, Monday and Tuesday evening until roughly 2 a.m. And the weather mixed with the elements and things that I was in, I think, gave me somewhat of a cold or just a raspy voice. There I am. Poof, you jumped on Facebook and bam, there I am. Nice surprise. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to do one tonight, actually. I have one planned next week, and that is going to have Sean from Bumping the Night Society coming on, a good buddy of mine. We're going to talk about paranormal investigations and about hauntings and things that have happened. His, if you're not familiar, Bumping the Night Society is the premier paranormal investigation team in Pennsylvania. Sean used to be a member of my team, Celestial Oddities Paraseekers, and we kind of went separate ways, different teams, different ideas on things, no hate whatsoever. And he started a group called Bump in the Night Society, and they have absolutely blown up. They're all over the place, do a ton of conventions. They got like a couple million followers on TikTok and Instagram and all that. Been on the news several times, have had their documentaries aired in movie theaters. I've been, thankful that I've been included in some of those documentaries that they put out as a special guest and things. So we'll be, very excited to bring him on next Thursday night, talk to him about all kinds of fun paranormal content. So make sure you check that one out. Following week after that, we will have Natasha Michelle from Little Shop of Lilith, from the Coterie of Samil, and from Celestial Oddities Radio. She is our creative director, and she'll be coming on the show to talk about all things Natasha. We'll be talking about her band Animus. We'll be talking about the Coterie of Samil, like I said, our cult. We'll be talking about practitioner work, rituals, and all kinds of stuff. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about the next couple of weeks with my guests. I don't like to formulate a set schedule. I like it to be free verse, freestyle conversation. So should be 2 great episodes. And I was pondering whether or not I would do an episode tonight, but I missed you motherfuckers so much that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So, we're going to jump into what do you attract in your life? And I figured that'd be a good conversation because that's been coming up a lot lately. And I think that people don't seem to understand that you do attract to you what you put out in the world. If you are someone who is constantly negative, you are going to attract more bullshit in your life. This isn't a theory, this is fact. So if you go around with an attitude that everything sucks, everybody sucks, life is bullshit, then life is going to feed you on a fucking dirty spoon bullshit. You're going to run into traffic jams more often. You're going to run into financial issues more often. You're going to run into enemies and people you don't like more often. This reality is a matrix, and it is calibrated off of each and every individual. Collectively, all together, we shape and carve out this matrix and this reality. But your vibrational frequency that you emit out very much affects the landscape of your reality. And how you see the world, feel about the world, and treat the world is exactly what the world arranges for you. If you notice that when you are in those depressive moods and in those shitty fucking states of mind, it's not just by chance that everything around you continues to go wrong and everything's bad. But when you find, for those who have been there in life and been in dark times, I lived a very big chapter of my life in a very dark, gloomy state. Looking back on it now, I don't even understand why or what caused me to be there. Why? That's not necessarily true. Demons, folks, demons. When I was in that state, things kept happening more and more to drag you down, because once you're in that state, you emit it out. It comes back to you. It drags you down further. You're emitting even lower frequencies. Worse shit happens. It drags you down further. It is to destroy you. It's exactly what it's meant to do. It's a trap, and many people fall into it. But if you can find a way out of that, and you start living differently, and you start thinking differently and acting differently with the world around you, then all of a sudden, all these other amazing things start coming to you. And you realize, holy shit, I made myself in my own misery, which then attracted more misery. So it's really quite interesting, and we do have full control over it. And when I joked about demons a moment ago, I was actually being serious, because we have to understand that there's different classifications of beings out there, and there are demonic beings. And people, and I joke about it many times, people are like, demons are my friends. Yeah, you probably need to get psychiatric help, because you're probably not all together there. It's okay to be a diabolist and a satanist and someone who's a daemonilator and all these other fancy terms that are out there. That's okay. And you can work with demons or work with different chthonic beings and telluric beings, but you have to understand they're not your friends. It's like I said, I've used this analogy many times. It's like electricity. You might know how to wire up the house and light bulbs up and make your life a lot easier and power all kinds of things around you. And you were the one that wired it up. So now you start to feel like I'm a badass motherfucker because I did this with electricity. But do you think electricity is your friend? Do you feel like you have a special sentimental relationship with electricity? Because I can guarantee you, if you go stick your dick in the light socket, it's going to blow your nuts off. Let's not be foolish and think otherwise. But for some reason in the occult, people dabble with chthonic powers and infernal powers and demonic powers. And they believe that for some reason, when I employ a spirit to do a job and I feed him, that it's anything more than a petition or contract. And there can be a relationship, a semiotic relationship built. That is true. I'm not saying that that is not the case. But you see people that just left and right are like, oh, these demons are my friends and I'm an ookie spooky badass motherfucker. That means every ookie spooky is on my side. The truth is that you might make relationships with a few, and through your business contracts, through your feeding, your reverence and respect to the spirit, it might protect you, watch you, and be with you. But that doesn't mean the other 5 million spirits of similar infernal nature or darkened nature are your friends or there to help you. And I just run into this constant fuckery, and that's why I don't belong to any groups anymore online. That's why I don't talk to a lot of people anymore, because the shit that gets fed to me, you know, with questions being asked and the stuff that's just said is weird, man. And it's, you look at a lot of these practitioners of any sort, but especially on the left-hand path side, I talk about it frequently. I'm one of the only people that you hear that is within the left-hand path, which has a following, who literally bashes the left-hand path all the time. And it's not to be a dick, but it's to be truthful and say things that a lot of other people are scared to say because they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to be a fucking left-hand path guru, and I'm not trying to be that. I don't want you to follow me and look up to me. Please don't. But take what I'm saying that resonates and keep it, and discard the rest. As Marie Curie said, nothing is to be feared, it is to be understood. And that's the case. You shouldn't fear it either. But don't make the mistake of thinking that these beings are your friends in most cases. They are a spiritual current that can be worked with in different ways, just like fire. Fire you can be worked with in many ways for your benefit, just like electricity. But fire isn't your friend. It might help you, but just because something helps you doesn't mean it's your friend. I've helped a lot of people in life that I don't give a fuck about. I could watch them burn in front of me and it would make no difference. But I've gifted them or helped them to be a civil and good person, because I feel that sometimes that karma will come back to me in a good way. It doesn't mean I give a shit about that person, because someone could be like, Crow's my friend. Am I though? Just because I helped you? Maybe it's a chess move. Think about that. Maybe pieces had to be moved a certain way for certain things to happen in my life, and really it wasn't about you at all. Let me throw up a couple of these comments. Merrick said that last comment. I didn't throw it up. Like I said, that scratchy voice is really kicking in tonight. I apologize. He also said, I just completed a month-long meditation retreat at home. Best thing about it, didn't interact with other alleged practitioners who only disappoint and infuriate me. So no need to be anything more than just civil towards them. And that's the thing, is like, I can't hate on another man for how you want to practice. I'll talk shit on it. You at the end of the day, do you. And I'm not talking to you, Merrick. I'm talking to anybody. But there's so many things I see that I'm like, I don't know, where the fuck did you get your knowledge at? Where did you come across these ideas that you come up with? The biggest thing, like I said, is to think that all devils and demons and infernal beings are your friends. I mean, kind of the name itself, infernal demonic beings, is, as in common culture, a derogatory sense, and that's because a lot of these spirits are. Now, that's not to say you can't work with them. That's all I work with pretty much, but you have to understand what you're working with. Have they caused hardships in my life? Fuck, yes, they have. Has there been lessons to be learned from those hardships? Yes. Have they done great things for me in my lifetime? Yes, but I have to understand that it's employment. It's either a bond of friendship that forms, if you want to use the term friendship. It's a bond of trust that forms between spirit and human, because of working with them again and again and showing reverence. And don't think it just comes for no reason. It's coming because you are paying them. So it's like your neighbor. If your neighbor does a bunch of jobs for you and you keep paying him, I mean, sure, he likes you probably, but it's also because he knows he's getting paid. And maybe sometimes he does a couple jobs for free because he knows there's going to be another job coming that he's getting paid. But if he does 4 or 5 jobs for you and doesn't pay you, and he's done it kindly for you, he's going to stop doing those jobs. So let's not think it's anything less. But, to the point of the subject tonight, what do you attract in your life? So many people work with these type of beings and their life is fucking in tatters. They're depressed. They're broke. They're always in a state where like the world's horrible. It's so bad. But yet they also praise the beings that they're working with. And I'm like, if the beings that you're working with and you yourself, neither of you on either side can grow you out of that, can pull you out of that darkness, then what is the point of working with these spirits? Yeah, you feel close, you're interacting, you're having paranormal phenomena happen, but you're still in a shithole. They're keeping you in a shithole. You're keeping yourself in a shithole. Nothing changes. The work of occultism, folks, and the work of esoteric practice should honestly lead you to a point where you don't need esoteric practices and occult practices. No, we love what we do, so we'll continue to do it. But if you don't see a steady progression, if you look back 6 months, a year, 2 years ago till now, and you haven't seen a steady climb, something's wrong. You should financially be doing better, health-wise be doing better, mentally, emotionally, physically doing better. If it's the opposite and it's going down, then you probably have parasites. And that's an important thing that people need to understand, is that everyone around you, everyone, I don't give a fuck who you are, has parasites on them. Astral parasitic beings. The only way to remove them is through proper practice and cleansing, ritual baths, fumigations. And if you're someone who does that quite often, then you're probably okay. But if you're someone who very frequently does it or never does it, you have these things on you, and they affect things in your life to a lesser or a greater degree. And for people who work with a lot of known ookie spookies that never cleanse, that never meditate properly, or never do any procedures that help to alleviate the chance of parasites, you are ridden with parasites. And the reason that everything falls apart around you, the reason that you continue to work a shitty job and can't find a good job, you never have money, your credit score is fucking in the trash, you feel horrible, you're sick, all of these things is because you've invited in a horde of parasitic beings to latch on to you that could be a result of calling in that demon. We have to understand that when we call forward through invocation or evocation of a spirit, a specific spirit, it isn't always just them that arrives. You are opening a pocket in the space-time continuum. You're opening that pocket up. You're breaching through frequency barriers and pulling that being in. You're raising up, you're pulling them down, you're meeting, or you're pulling them up and you're going down and you're meeting that spirit. Well, there's shit around them and it's also coming through. That's why they constantly tell you that a lot of times spirits will show up with other spirits behind them as part of their legion. If you look in the Lemegeton or the Ars Goetia, or, the Red Dragon or Grimorium Verum, any of the old Heptameron, it doesn't matter. They a lot of times will talk about spirits arriving with other spirits behind them as part of their entourage. Well, the same token, other things come through that are parasitic, and a lot of people have parasites. And if you don't maintain that, they're going to start to fuck with your life. Now, when we talk about vibrational frequency, it's not easy to just be happy. If you've got a lot of shit going on in your life, it's hard to just say, I'm going to smile and be happy and everything's going to be better. But you have to start taking the steps in life that'll progress your life. And for a time period, you're going to have to push through a lot of resistance. What do I mean by this? Maybe you do what I did a few years back and you say, I'm not liking where things are. I want to go ahead and start getting up at 5 a.m. and doing meditation and working out and ritual for 3 hours every day until I have to get ready for work. Excuse me. And by doing that, I'll have less sleep. I'll be more tired and in a way making myself more miserable because of how tired I am, but my body will get used to it. But by doing so, I have a steady, disciplined daily practice of meditation, of ritual every morning, and of stretching, lifting, and working out. And by doing that for a couple months, my body will become more in tone, my mind will become more in tune, and I will overall feel better. And sure enough, that'll happen. And by feeling better, by being healthier, by being clearer in mind, you start to become happier. You go through fire to find heaven, right? I'm using heaven as a term of happiness. So that is what's needed in your life, is sometimes you have to throw yourself through the flames to get where you're trying to go. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And a lot of people can't do that. It's so easy this day and age to fail. How often have you went to the gym? You were stern. You worked your ass off for those 2 weeks, only to never go again. How often did you start that diet? And man, those first few days were tough, but you started really feeling good by week 2. And then you ate a cookie. And then you just never fucking returned back to it. It's so easy to fail. That's the point. It's so easy to be weak. It's so easy to be average. But do you want to be excellent? Do you want to excel? Do you want to be something above the masses? Do you want to stand out amongst everyone else around you and your peers? Do you want to be that level of vibration that others want to achieve? And by being that level, you bring in more and more to you to keep rising above and above and above. Because folks, that's exactly what this world is. Everything is frequency. Everything is vibration. From the lowest, densest, darkest, deepest vibrations to the highest, lightest, most ethereal, transitory vibrations. We are gifted the gift, I guess you could say, and curse of being in the flesh. Because when we talk about the spirit realm, we have to understand that there are very dark, dense, low vibrational beings. There are very high, divine beings. But we can experience both while in the flesh, and at the same time raise and lower our vibration while in the flesh. We have the gift of being a spirit, but also being a flesh being. And like I said, it limits us as an endless being. Being in flesh, we are limited. But being an endless spirit in flesh, we feel, we experience, we taste. That's what's so beautiful about it, is that we are gods trapped in the flesh, but while we are trapped here, we can sample and taste and touch and do whatever we'd like. Because someday we will return back to spirit. But that doesn't mean that we allow ourselves so much indulgence that we just sink down to the depths of hell. We temper ourselves like a fine blade in the fire so that we know we can do anything we want to, whenever we want to, however we want to, but we pick and choose like chess masters how we live our life. We refrain from so much of the delights and desires so that off chance we do taste of the forbidden fruit, it tastes all that sweeter. And that's how a master lives. Sue says, what's up? What is up, Sue? Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. We have Merrick says, no hate, no love. Be like a mirror, clinging to nothing, rejecting nothing, just reflecting back what you are presented with. And that's the thing is, I mean, there is no, good and bad. There is no light and dark. It is really, things are what they are. Spirits, oftentimes, I say, that's a good point, Merrick. I want to bring this up. It makes me segue into something that people say, these beings are evil. Well, they might be evil in the sense that they could be adverse to your well-being, but does that make them evil, or does that just mean that their nature is adverse to your nature? And we have to understand that. And I give examples that I worked with a spirit, and I've told this story before. I asked him to show me what the next chapter of my life was going to be. I needed his help. I felt an affinity to this spirit, very close. And he opened up a new chapter of my life. I became absolutely, utterly obsessed and insane about bones. I spent every dollar I had, emptied my savings, went buck wild for bones. Now, I'd always liked bones and been interested in bones before, but never like this. And for some reason, working with the spirit, I just went insane with bones. I didn't even know that this was happening. I just all of a sudden was obsessed. And I went into kind of a psychosis and an obsession. And, you have to understand that when a spirit is possessing you, one of the first stages is oppression and obsession. And I became obsessed. The spirit is a spirit of necromancy, known to be a spirit connected with specifically bones. So I didn't even put two and two together for the longest time because I was under this spell, so to speak. And I bought thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars of bones, surrounded myself with death. But in that lesson, or in that hardship, there was a lesson. So many levels deep. I got to learn more about the spirit, learn more about myself, learn more about my strengths, learn more about my weaknesses. But in the financial burden that it gave me, in the insanity that it threw me through, I learned so many things. And the struggle to climb back and be on top again was fucking brutal. And I'm still not fully out of the tremors that came from the initial shockwave. And there has been a lot of growth, understanding since then. So we have to understand that these beings aren't evil. Do I think that that spirit's evil because somehow it kind of got into my mind and it caused me to start acting very peculiar to myself and do this? No, I don't think it's evil at all. I think its nature was to teach me in ways that it knew how to teach, and its energy patterns are very different than what I would say is comfortable for someone. So it showed me in the ways that it knew how to show me a very powerful and potent lesson that was uncomfortable for me, but I learned and grew from it. There's always those side effects when you work with a spirit that aren't always comfortable for you, but that's the point. Growth isn't comfortable. If it's comfortable, you're not growing. Spirit work is growing pains. Merrick said, at first it's practice. Then after a while, it becomes your normal modality. When I first started, 5-minute meditations a day was such an imposition. Now, at least 4 or 5, sometimes more meditation sessions staggered throughout the day of about 30 minutes each. I have no TV. It is poison. And you said something very important there. I agree with you. People think that like they're going to sit down day one meditation and they're going to crank out an hour. Let me tell you, meditation is the hardest thing you're ever going to do, folks. It's harder than ritual work. It's harder than evocation of spirits. Not to say that those things aren't difficult, but one of the most difficult things you can do is silencing your own mind. This fucking thing in here doesn't like to be silenced, because in the silence is where your power lies, and everything in our life and around us is taught to keep us from our true power. Dumbing us down, dulling our senses, things like TV and movies, things like music. And I'm not saying music isn't beautiful, but I'm saying a lot of the music made now, the TV, the shows, the entertainment is all put out at a specific vibrational frequency that puts our mind to sleep, that dumbs us down, that makes us obsessed with violence and hate. And by doing all these things, we're kept in a sludgy state. And it's really hard during meditation to silence the monkey mind, the monkey brain. And people go into this all fucking gung-ho, like, I'm getting into esotericism and occultism. I'm ready, man. And I heard that meditation's the key, so I'm going to sit down and start my devout practice every day of an hour of meditation. And it's like 4 minutes in, they're like, this sucks. The next day they try, the next day they try, the next day they try. And after like 4 weeks, they're like, I suck at this. I can't do it. This is bullshit. All I do is think about work and think about my family. That's the point, is you are pushing pressure, resistance, as I said earlier, against a barrier trying to stop you. Back here is where the magic happens. Up here is where your normal life is. And there's this barrier in between. And you have to push hard as fuck to break past the barrier. And once you do, that's where that power lives. And it's not going to be easy. The hardest thing you're going to find to do is to silence yourself. To what Don Juan in the Carlos Castaneda book says, stopping the world. Because when you learn to stop the world, you're turning off your internal dialogue. Because you are not who you think you are. You are not your personality. That is only a mask that you wear as an endless spirit. Because as we are born into flesh, you are programmed by everyone and everything that you come across. Since the day of birth till now, every stimuli that you've come into contact with has shaped you in one way, shape, or form or another. And we get so indulgent in our persona, in our psyche, in our soul, that we really believe that's who we are. And when we try to silence that to actually touch our spirit and get into contact with our higher consciousness, that psyche, that persona, that soul keeps jumping in and trying to chop it up with other shit. You have to take time, minute at a time. And as Merrick said, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, eventually to 8 minutes, to 10 minutes, to eventually an hour, sometimes longer. But it doesn't happen overnight. And it's one of the most advantageous tasks and exercises you can put yourself through, is to get to where you can sit, not even an hour, let's say a half an hour, to where you can sit, as he said, 30-minute sessions. 30 minutes of stilling the world, stopping the internal dialogue, is momentous. 30 minutes, that's all it takes, folks. But to get to that 30 minutes, you're going to spend the next year of your life devoutly getting there. If you're only doing it a little bit here and there, it's going to take you a couple of years. But if you can get there, nonetheless, it is potent and powerful, and it will bring new changes in your life. And that's one of the biggest things I would say to people who are attracting negative vibration, who are in a negative mind state, as I've said again and again: meditation. Because you're angry at the world, everything's going wrong, but you don't even know who you are. You're so angry at yourself and angry at everyone around you and angry at everything you're coming into contact with. But how can that be if you don't actually know who you are and you're only angry at this character that you created? How silly is that? You're angry at an illusion. You're arguing with the fucking wall. Break barriers. Reach inside yourself. Dissolve all this clouded bullshit that doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck what happened at work today? You're at home right now. It'll pick back up tomorrow. You worry about it when you're there. Who cares about the fight you had earlier? It's over with. How many of those things in our life do we get angry over and we don't even know why? It's not even something that should upset you. You're just automatically tricked into patterns that you've created for yourself, that you get angry and explode over things that don't make sense, don't even matter. Because that's low vibrational thinking, attracting low vibrational beings, attracting more low vibrational thinking. Let's read some of these comments. Natasha said, the amount of times I have to have the meditation conversation. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The key is like right there. People don't seem to understand. Like, meditation is something so foreign. And I've talked about this to fucking an excessive level over the years, that people want to like do all these things with spirits and call these beings in, but they don't want to meditate. And it just doesn't make sense, because in order to contact a being, you have to be able to reach deep levels of hypnagogic trance like states, and to be able to do the scrying stare, All of these things are different forms of meditation. And if you don't want to meditate, you're never going to be able to contact and talk to spirits properly. You're never going to be able to do any of this shit. And for people that say, well, I just naturally have an affinity to spirits and talk to them and I don't need to meditate. Yeah, you're probably talking to yourself, bro. Like, you're probably fucking actually talking to yourself. These spirits aren't there. You're probably making it up and you're delusional and probably need mental help. Because if you are talking to spirits, you need to stay fluid in cleaning your mind and the clutter out of your mind to talk to them. And people think there's this big fucking hidden secret. What is the secret, Crow? What's the secret? Sit the fuck down and shut up. Okay, well, now what? No, just sit the fuck down and shut up. Sit there for a while in the shut the fuck up mode, and you'll probably learn some things from yourself. There's no hidden secret. It's just shutting the fuck up. I think more people need to be told that. It's also, like I said, more people need to be punched in the face. I think everybody should be punched in the face once in their life. There's way too many people running around talking way too much stuff, and you can tell they've never been punched in the fucking face, and they need to be. You know, one good whopping in the face will teach you a lot of stuff. Merrick said, replying to Natasha Michelle, give the mind monkeys something to do. Mantras help me, and the mantras are extremely powerful. In fact, I think that, as Merrick said, that's one of the best ways to silence the monkey mind. When you just find that mantra that you can repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, and whether you're using a mala or not, I like to use the mala because it helps me count. My mind's focused on the mantra and repetition and the energy that builds up inside of you, and also helps take away the monkey mind. But the movement of the finger over the finger and just counting the beads, eventually you stop counting. It's just a movement. I rock while I meditate. So I'll be saying the mantra, and my body literally rocks back and forth, and just counting those beads until eventually you vanish. Tammy says, took me literally years to shut down my brain waves, but now I'm able to trance meditate. Nothing compares. Yeah, I mean, that's the only way you're going to reach deeper levels of spirit and deeper levels of self. Natasha said, it works best when I just focus on my breath, to be honest, but I like ends. I was referring to having to have this conversation with clients over and over. Merrick said, brilliant, keep winning. Counting breaths is great. It's neutral. You can achieve equanimity quite easily. You can really tell when someone's not had a polish, mama. And let me see the last comment here. Yes, fully agree. And yeah, I think there's a lot of that. There's this sensationalism within occultism, and that's why I just slowly stopped being a part of much of any of it. I do my shows, talk to you guys, and I fuck everybody else. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care to be a figure. I don't want buzz, likes, shares, follows. I say to do that at the beginning because you're just supposed to say that. Click like, share, and follow, because I'm hoping it finds people out there that it helps. But like, there's so many people that I think are in this for the wrong reason. And the reason you should be in this is plain and simple. You should be in this for you, not for your friends, not for your family, not for fucking shares and likes. The reason you practice is because you want to better your life. And the best way to better your life is by learning who you are, controlling that power, harnessing energy, and directing that energy into bringing to fruition things in your life. But when people start getting all glitz and glamoury and like showing off and showboating and telling these phantasmagorical stories, it's for ego stroking. It is to be fucking jerked off under the table by a bunch of strangers they don't know, like it means something. I'm happy that you guys like my show. I'm happy that you guys like me and we have great conversations. But I'm also, as Merrick said earlier, just as happy if you told me to fuck off and you hate my show and you don't like a thing I'm saying. Cool. Doesn't make a difference to me. I appreciate it, but I also don't give a shit. And if you hate me, I also don't give a shit. And I think that's how people need to live their lives, is stop living your life by what others think of you or will think of you or may think of you or how popular you are, not popular. Who fucking cares? If you love yourself and are happy with yourself, you will attract the amazing things in your life that you need. You'll always be at the right place at the right time. Doesn't mean there won't be hardships every now and again. But when you live in love with yourself and not an egotistical, like obsessed with yourself, I'm talking find that true root of you, and you realize that that ego is just a sleeve that you wear to communicate with the rest of the world, then you don't give a fuck about that ego and you don't give a fuck about the other people in the world, because you're so in tune with yourself that at that point, everything just starts falling into place. You'll make the friends that you want to make. They'll just fall into your life at the weirdest of times and the weirdest of places and situations. Money will come to you when you need it. Will you be rich? No. People always think this thing like, if you were a master practitioner, wouldn't you be a millionaire? No, because money doesn't make people happy. In fact, it does quite the opposite. Those who have millions of dollars are usually the most miserable. The rich man isn't one who has financial wealth. The rich man is the one who has knowledge and love and an understanding of the world. Money means nothing. That's why I never charged for anything I've done. There's nothing wrong if you do, but I never have, because I don't give a fuck about it. Money is meaningless to me. I make enough to make it survive for my family, for myself. We go and do things. We're not hurting by any means. But you got people constantly in the paper chase for money. They work 100 extra hours when they don't have to have a bunch of money for what? Then they're not actually enjoying life. You're only here for a short amount of time. Rocking when meditating. Orthodox Jews sway when they pray. Dervishes twirl. They get into trance-like states that help them to transcend ordinariness. Yeah, America, I don't know. It's something I've always done, and I don't know a lot of other people talk about that. I rock like a motherfucker. Like, I mean, when I'm sitting there, I get in full lotus position, and when I start doing my mantras without me even realizing, I just start rocking and rocking and rocking, and it gets to be pretty extreme sometimes. And I've shared this with a few close friends, and I'll share it with you guys tonight. I've had a couple phenomena happen during, and I know, Merrick, you know this because you and I were in the Sorcery of Hecate course together. It's only happened during those mantras for some reason. The work with Hecate, in her mantras and work that Jason had presented, I've noticed something strange happen where I start to do the rocking. I'm sitting down in lotus position and I'm saying her mantra or mantras connected to her paradigm. And when I eventually would open my eyes, I would actually be in a different part of the room, a different part of the temple, or faced a different direction than I started. Now, with my eyes closed and reciting the mantra, I'm facing forward. And even if you rock a little bit, it would take a lot of rocking motion over and over and over again for your body to do a 180-degree turn or somehow wind up 7 feet away in a different area of the temple. Multiple times, specifically with the Hecatean work. I have opened my eyes again after meditation, come out of a long, 30, 45-minute meditation, and been somewhere completely fucking different in my temple. And it's always thrown me for a loop. And eventually I just learned to accept it. But I've never understood specifically during that work why that is. I do the same thing during other meditations, do the same thing in other practices. I wake up, from, not I want to say wake up, but I snap out of my meditation and I'm still faced the same way. I'm still in the same position, nothing. But only when I work with her do I end up being somewhere different in the room or faced the opposite direction. It's quite puzzling. Let me know what you guys think of that. Oh, it is. There was a good book. I can't remember who wrote it. It was on Jewish forms of meditation. So you mentioned above Orthodox Jews. Yes, they talk about multiple different forms of meditation, not only with prayers and recitations of power words and prayers, like I said, but also movements and different types of positions that you normally don't hear about. Let me see if I have it. because I think it'd be good for someone out there to at least hear this title. God, let's see if I can find it. Bear with me, folks. Yeah, it's Meditation and Kabbalah from Aria Kaplan. Interesting book, goes deep. The whole book is nothing but talks about different forms of meditation within the Kabbalah and how to use different verses and different exercises of Kabbalistic nature to meditate. Pretty good book. So yeah, they talk about movement and air. And like I said, that's what I do. I have a hard time sitting still during meditation. Like it should be the opposite. I know a lot of people say sit still, silence the world, like I said earlier, but also just no movement where you could sit there for hours and not even budge. Not me, brother. I don't know if it's the ADD, ADHD, or what, but I'm fucking like headbanging in my meditation, and that's what launches my consciousness. But I think, like I said, that's something I wanted to talk to everybody about this evening. Something I thought that was important for people to hear is that you very much are in control of obviously your outlook of the world, but what you attract to you. And when you're living in a negative state, you're going to attract negative things, negative beings, and those negative beings like being in a negative state. So they're going to make you stay there further. And then you're pretty much gluing yourself to the table. You're sludging yourself down to where you're never going to be easily able to break free of that. And I hope that you all can, because there's a beautiful world out there. Even if I talk about this place being a prison all the time, but people look at that wrong. They think because anti-cosmic Satanism that it means I hate everything. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I understand the reality that I do feel this is a prison and I eventually want to leave here and not return. But while I'm here, I love it. That's the secret. The nihilists always have such a problem because they hate so much that they can never enjoy themselves. The point is that you should love and enjoy every fucking second of this prison sentence until you don't have to serve anymore. That's when you become a master. Not saying that I am. I'm merely just a regular guy. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra, the light, very easily drinkable beer. When I'm on a show, I like to talk a lot, as you guys know, and I don't like to feel bogged down with one of those heavy beers. So guys, girls, if you're wanting to drink something delicious, light, and easily accessible or attainable, get Michelob Ultra. Find it at your local beer store. Come to find out, Michelob Ultra fucking sues me because they don't want my shit associated with their beer. So if anybody else has any questions, anything they want to add, feel free to drop it. At this point, we finished kind of talking what we wanted to talk about this evening. A lot of things have been happening. I'll kind of fill you guys in. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties on Natasha and I's show that we had a couple weeks ago planned. So that episode didn't happen. The week before that, we were supposed to have Mikey B and Sean from Bumpin' the Night Society on, and due to some schedule conflicts that arose very quickly right before the show, we had to cancel that. And now we have just Sean coming on. Mike's schedule got a little hectic there. So we will be bringing Sean on next week, Natasha the following week after that, and doing some interviews on the show, some fun and great conversation and topics. I hope you guys will join. And the reason I've been kind of absent from the Coterie of Samil page and been absent from Last Call for the last several weeks is I had the sudden, unexpected passing of a very dear friend of mine who played a major integral part of my spiritual growth and the opening of many doors in my life in the current time period now. And there was a time of processing it. There was a time of adapting to what life now would be without him. And there was a lot of physical work that needed to be done to settle some of his affairs, take care of his belongings, and help the family, help some people close to him So there was a few week period where I was just on the go nonstop, and it was mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually draining. And on top of that, in my everyday job and my life and my family, I didn't feel it was a justice to you guys to throw shows up and half-ass it and just be, you know, not giving it my all. So I took a few weeks off. So let me see a couple of comments coming here, but that's where things have been going on with me. So we've kind of come past that, and we'll always miss our dear friend and keep him alive in memory and in practice. But it's been a hard last month. And Jerry said, can you touch on walking meditation? Now, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by walking meditation. I know that I find, and it might not be what you mean by this, but I find walking and running to be a meditation. Um, and that's where I'm going to go with it, if that's not what you meant, because I started running a while back. And I'll tell you what, stilling the mind, that was amazing for me. I hadn't ran in years. I broke my back a long time ago and had a lot of nerve damage and problems that I've overcome at this point, but I'd walk or speed walk. It was a long time since I was full bore running, and I started running. And I'll tell you what, within the first couple of nights of running, I go silent, and I run at night, which is, I think, the reason why. Less distractions. But I'm running at night and the breeze blowing by me and no one around me, and I'm just running and my mind just disappears. It's just me in the air, and I almost disappear in it. And I found that to be very therapeutic. And something that, once again, was it easy for me? Absolutely not. But was it extremely helpful? Absolutely. You need to do you first and foremost. And that was it. I needed to get my mind right. My friend somehow, it's still very eerie, jumped in and switched around a couple pieces on the board for me and then left this place. And in the movements that he did, it would forever change more than anyone even realizes. And it's very powerful. It's very beautiful, very humbling. It's also very heartbreaking in a lot of different ways. And like I said, there was a time period I just needed to process all the events that unfolded over a 3-week span. Sometimes people aren't meant to be in your life forever. Sometimes people are to come into your life and be a part of it very quickly, but to leave such a resonance with you that you will never forget them. And I think that's important that we understand that fact, that there's a lot of people that come into our lives that will be there forever. They'll be friends and be acquaintances or whatever they might be to you. And then they play a role. But there are those flash in the pan people that they come in like a fucking firestorm. They come in like a comet from space, and they just boom, hit your world and shake your foundations, knock the rust off and make you restructure. Not necessarily in a bad way. And they change the projection of where you were heading to where you probably needed to be heading. And then sometimes one way or another, just they're gone. And it's otherworldly, especially in this case. There are things sometimes bigger than ourselves at play that we just can't possibly begin to understand. Let's go. We go. Damn, a bunch of comments dropped in at once. Mindful walking. Sometimes I do for an hour at my local Burmese temple on Wednesday evenings, and he gives a link. So there you go. And Jerry, that'd be a good thing to check out. Yeah, I find, like I said, I find running or even speed walking, anything very therapeutic. I find it's a different type of mental wavelength. I don't get to the same place I do when I'm in my temple meditating, but I find both equally beneficial in their own ways. Getting into the zone or in a state of flow whilst exercising is great meditation. That's it. You become one with the world. You get in that perfect time and that rhythm. And the thing is, when you first start running, you don't get there. It's after a couple minutes. Your arms and your feet are moving in sync with one another. You're breathing, kind of your lungs are past like the, oh, what the fuck are you doing to me stage? And then you get perfectly in sync. I put headphones in, and whether I'm listening to music or I'm listening to like specific tones, you guys know, if you've listened to me in the years past, I go deep on some tonage and what it can do to your mind. Hails and salutations, Freighter Crow. Can you touch on how you align your mind, body, and spirit to achieve optimal power? So we kind of touched a little bit on that, but I'll jump back in that. Let me read these other comments, and we'll definitely tap into that. David said, Tibetan walking meditation involves walking barefoot and placing your mind, your focus, and attention to your feet. And that makes sense because, like I was saying, when your body becomes in sync with one another, you're at optimum level of movement and clarity. And being barefoot in general, I try to, especially the last couple of years. Sorry, I have a mustache hair that keeps fucking with me. I try to be as barefoot as much as I can. And like when I'm playing with the kids out back in the yard, or I'm in the driveway and they're riding bike, I'm barefoot. I try to be barefoot constantly whenever it's not cold outside. I do my ice baths in the winter. No, not because it's like the popular cool thing to do anymore. I do them because it's a fucking warrior training. When you drop in, and I don't do 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I hear people say like, I do a 3-minute ice bath. Well, that's fucking cute. I do 15. I do it because that's another form of meditation when we're talking about meditation. So Milo, you're talking about different forms of mind, body, and spirit getting in tune with one another. It's finding the ways that work for you, and everybody's going to be a little bit different. So give you a rundown of my November through March exercise every day that I find to be fucking pivotal in my growth. Sananga eye drops. Eye drops made from specific ash and tree bark made in the Amazon, and comes in a bottle that you can drop eye drops in. You want to make sure you get from a reputable place. They burn like bear mace in your fucking eyeballs, and it's beautiful. And people would say, why would I ever put something that burns like mace in my eyes? Because once it drops in and it burns, you keep your eyes closed, you breathe through it, it drops so much tension emotionally, spiritually, mentally through your body. Just it is such an amazing plant medicine. Such an amazing plant medicine. Now, the reason I bring this up is in general, that's powerful. I drop those babies in right before I hop over my 100-gallon horse trough water tank in the dead of winter and drop down to my neck, and I keep my hands and my feet under the water, and I breathe in through my nose and out for the 4 count, the 4-fold breath. In 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4, back and forth. And I do my regular meditation practices. The Sananga is working on my whole being. The ice is numbing my body, and because your hands, your body, and everything involved are going literally numb, you lose feeling of your body. Your mind is already blasted by the Sananga, which just helps clear any toxic sludge that's in there. Your body's now feeling like it's dissolved and disappeared. The breathing helps put you in touch with nature. The water, you melt into it, and you become one with the universe. Your mind, body, spirit, and soul become in tune. And it is a beautiful thing. People think 15 minutes is insane. They're like, 5 minutes in an ice bath is brutal. That's because you're resisting. You're fighting it. Become at one with it. And that 15 minutes will go by, and your timer will go off in your ears. I put headphones in too and listen to binaural beats and in isochronic tones, and you'll come out of it, and you won't be able to feel your fucking hands. So getting out of the tub's all weird. You have like raptor hands, like because you can't grab anything. But you'll get up out of the tub, and when you step out of the world and go into the house, and you're like, holy fuck! Like I dissolved. I disappeared from this world, and I became just consciousness, samadhi. And then what really is crazy is the ice bath, for anybody who's done it, as your body starts to heat up, the blood starts flowing. It forces all that adrenaline through your body naturally. It's like 7 times the power of cocaine in your body naturally. Then you're fucking cranked. And the rest of the day, you're like ready to fight a bear naturally. And it's such a great feeling. You're now attuned with nature, but you also have enough energy and stamina to literally like build a fucking kingdom. And Merrick said, not necessarily barefoot. You could injure your feet. Yeah. So, I mean, you could do it non-barefoot. You can, I actually, when I run, I use the barefoot shoes. So it's flat-footed and not the one to have each individual toe, but it's shaped towards your toes in the front. I could send somebody a link if they were interested. When you run, it is like running barefoot, but it has enough protection that if I step on something sharp, I'm not going to fuck myself up, because no one's getting into a deep meditative state if you step on a thorn or a piece of glass or, Lego. I honestly go into trance when I'm singing sometimes, causes an issue when I'm performing and snap out of it, not sure what I was singing. That's okay. That's what music and art should be. It should be a therapeutic way of release. It is like everything else. I'm barefoot more than shoes now. Yeah, I am most of the time too. In fact, I got to a point where like I wear Jesus sandals with the straps pretty much all the time except winter. So that way I can kick them off real easy and walk barefoot, slip them on real easy. I don't wear tennis shoes or boots hardly any anymore. And it's weird because growing up, I wore boots constantly, nonstop boots. And now it's a rare occasion that I'm wearing shoes or boots. Natasha said, yes, the eye drops. She knows. We've done the Sananga eye drops many times together. They're beautiful. If you've never done them, guys, I suggest it. It is, to me, one of the most beautiful and amazing things. Those plant allies are very, very potent in one's life, and they'll do a lot of things for you. Many musicians do, when singing, drumming, playing whatever instrument, lose themselves, which is beautiful. It's conditioning like everything else. I'm more barefoot than shoes now. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I read it already. I get that disillusion in saunas and steam rooms. Yeah, that'll do it too. That's what I'm saying. You have to find what works for you. For me, regular meditation, running, and ice baths with the Sananga. I just find that, especially the ice baths, that is a different type of freedom. I love steams. I steam nightly, laugh aloud, which is destroying my bathroom. Yeah, here's a secret that you guys, not that it's a secret, but I just never have told anybody. I've never done a sauna before. It's something I wanted to do. It's just never happened. It needs to happen. I've do so many other things that, help me and my body and my mind, and I've yet to ever get into a sauna. What also I really want to do is one of those sensory deprivation tanks. I just find that would probably be awesome. I think I could really make some headway, breaching into deeper levels of myself. I often wonder what it would be like to know the person that owns one of those spas that has one, so that you don't have like the 6-minute timer or whatever it is, and you could actually like spend some time there. I would love to eat some psilocybin and go spend like 2 hours inside a sensory deprivation tank and lose all sense of the world. Calvin, what's up, brother? Good evening to you as well. I'm cracking my last beer, which means as this finishes, we will finish for the night. But if anybody has anything else they want to add, anything they want to say, any questions that you are wondering, please feel free to drop them. I want to thank you guys, as always, for the love and support. I want to thank you for listening to me ramble. A lot of shows are multiple people talking. Not too often you see a guy just on here talking to, the screen for fucking an hour and a half, but I enjoy spending time with you guys, and it's always a great time. It's 10:37, so we're a little bit later than we normally are, but we started later tonight. And it's a beautiful thing. I appreciate all of you. Continue to grow. Continue to do everything you can to Just reach the best and truest form of yourself. Excuse me. It's easy enough. You'll enjoy saunas, steam rooms in winter. Most gyms have saunas and steam rooms. Then you might end up having to share that space with other gym members. So I wanted to get they make like a sauna bag that you can buy that you can do your own sauna room. And I wanted to do that. But it was just an expense that I never got around to doing, because then I know a lot of people want to do the ice bath and then the sauna, or vice versa, and they're very therapeutic. That hasn't happened for me. I'd also like to get into acupuncture. It's one other thing I've never done. I always felt like that'd be cool to experience. I'm a big person on holistic medicine. I firmly believe in chiropractors. I go to a chiropractor often, and what people don't realize is more than just your bone alignment. Your back being out of sorts can cause ailments in your life. And I have a phenomenal chiropractor, and he was telling me and showing me how specific vertebrae alignments cause specific ailments in people. And when I first went to him, he talked to me, do you have any type of like digestion or acid reflux issues? I said, yeah, I've had acid reflux forever, very, very badly. And he showed me my scans. He says, well, that makes sense, because these vertebrae right here are not in line where they're supposed to be. You're several degrees off. And these vertebrae right here are in charge of your acid take in your body. He literally was explaining to me that people who have problems with these vertebrae experience these troubles in life. And we don't think about that. We think, oh, my back hurts, it's out of alignment. But no, we don't think that my vertebrae are out of alignment and I have acid reflux because my fucking back. Well, yeah, that's the case. And a lot of other ailments. Just like spiritually, if you're spiritually sick, you're going to have physical sicknesses. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate that. You as well. Locally produced honey is pure medicine. Yeah, pure honey is one of the most phenomenal things you could possibly put in your body. Honey is just amazing in general. If anybody out there that harvests plants and makes tinctures and different things like that, honey will seal your plants in and keep them fresh. It'll keep them good. Honey doesn't mold. It doesn't allow contamination. It's amazing. You can stick honey in a jar and let it sit there, and it'll never mold. It might turn to sugar after a while, but you just can heat it up and mix it, and it turns right back to honey again. It's amazing that it's non-contaminable, if that makes sense. Not that crap you get from the supermarket. Do not use a metal spoon. It kills the enzymes. Use a wooden spoon or plastic spoon. 1 spoon a day, good for kids too. Yes, agree. The metal will offset the balance of the honey. You have to use either plastic or wood. I would say wood first, if at all possible. Acupuncture is not painful. It works on people in comas. It's not just psychosomatic. Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be too painful. I see them just tap, 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 and people seem to not have an issue at all. I just always thought that would be fun, but that's expensive as fuck too, depending upon your area. If there's not a lot of acupuncturists, then the price goes up higher because they're more in demand and less people to do it. Other than that, guys, like I said, we have some good shows coming up the next couple weeks. Apologize for the delay. I appreciate everyone's understanding. Enjoyed being here this evening with all of you. I will be doing an unboxing video in the next couple days. I am very excited to announce that Frater Barabbas's Liber Nephilim has been sent to me. It is coming out in the next 2 weeks for public market. You can pick it up, softback and hardback. If you are a follower of my shows, you might remember a while back I had Frater Barabbas on the show, and I gave him a nudge and told him he really needed to release the Liber Nephilim book. It's something he's had for about 30 years through his cults and his coven's workings, and just a wonderful individual, wonderful practitioner and author. And he said that he's had this work compiled for 30 years sitting around and never planned to release it. And I kind of nudged him a few times. I'm like, you need to release it. You need to release it. And was so honored to know that not only did he decide to release it, he decided to give me thanks and dedication in the book, and then send me a free volume of the book hardback for my library. So we will be doing an unboxing in the next couple days that I will see it along with you guys for the first time, let you know my initial thoughts of it, and then obviously I'll start to work through its system and knowledge, and I'm extremely excited and honored to be given this gift. So stay tuned for that coming up. Make sure you keep an eye on the Coterie of Samil Arcane Occult Order Facebook page for a lot of posts. Like I said, we've been distant because of the passing of a friend, but we are going to be posting again regularly. And that's about it for me. I love you guys. Have a wonderful evening. And hold on one second. Another comment came in. You have Liber Chthoniya. It's a Hecate grimoire by Jeff Collin. I enjoy it. I do not have that one. I have Jack Grell's Hecateion. Well, you know what? No, maybe I do have Liber Chthoniya. I think I was gonna say Natasha hasn't. She just answered I have it. I enjoyed it. Have a couple of his pieces too. I think I recently was gifted that book. I haven't read it yet. If I do have it, I did it. I got some type of Hecateion book that I haven't even looked at. It's in the library. I got too many fucking books at this point. But yes, I think I might actually have that as well. But no, I have the Hecateion and some others that I have that I've read through. Once again, thank you guys so much. Honor and blessings to you. Live deliciously.